I have some notes here, but we're going to totally skip them because that looks like I have pretty much copy and paste that from something else. All right, so we're proudly sponsored by our best mate Pablo at Hudson Technology. Give a wave, Pablo. Say good day.
Hey guys, yeah, I haven't jumped on the last couple, I think, so it feels bad. Glad to come back on for a Wayne call. Wayne, I didn't know you were a DBA, by the way.
No, I'm definitely not.
Most normal DBA I've ever met.
That's because I'm not a DBA.
Oh, man. All right. Yeah, and they're also sponsored by Instinct Technology, which, yeah, obviously they also help out as well with the sponsorship. And finally, our best mates at ScriptRunner also pay our Meetup costs, which without them, we won't be using Meetup, we'd be using something else. And knowing me or Wayne, we'll probably just write it ourselves. Anyway, so let's keep cracking on. Into the PowerShell news. I honestly Wayne, did you add some bits and pieces to this? Because I don't know if
I think I did. I added one line maybe.
Okay, cool. All right. So I know there's a whole bunch of other things. I literally just haven't looked at it. So first kind of thing is the PowerShell Power Hour. So if you guys are not familiar, James Petty, I can't remember his last name now. I really should know it. James is at the DevOps Collective, who are the guys who run the PowerShell Summit. They're basically running PowerShell Power Hours. So basically, it's just a small talk on PowerShell. They talk. It's basically just a small presentation on something. So similar to a user group talk. So definitely go and have a look at that. There, I know that they've got a bit of a lineup coming up soon. So I think. I'm just looking at my notes. That is from an old one. I think there's some very interesting talks coming up there anyway. Yeah, so also PowerShell 7 is now rolled out to all Azure function regions. Fantastic. That is really good news. So yeah. I think there's also Azure PowerShell is got a new preview out. So if you guys are not familiar, there's they're doing the PowerShell 7 preview 3 is out. I've kind of lost count after 2, so yeah, that's out as well. And have I missed anything?
I think your Pester bug finally hit.
Did it?
Yeah, we had some pipelines not work.
Yeah, my Pester ones. Yeah, so that's actually So for the people who weren't here last month, obviously with Pester 5, there are significant changes to how the architecture of Pester works. So it's really, really important if you are using Pester tests to go and validate your tests or be version type to version 4, latest version of version 4. If you go to version 5, everything a lot of things will break. Personally, I've had a lot of things break at the moment, so honestly, I haven't had time to look at it because I just don't have time right now. But there's, from the way that it's working, it's basically been rewritten so that there's a lot more there's a lot of more new features that can be added. So Pester kind of reached a certain level of development before it kind of hit a brick wall, and they had to kind of re-engineer the entire process to actually kind of get around that. So yeah, lots of breaking changes in Pester 5. So yeah, watch out. I think that's pretty much it. We'll go to the next slide. Giveaways, free. Everyone loves free stuff. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be giving away 1 physical book and 1 ebook. Let me go get actually, I've got the book right there. So we're going to need 1 that shirt. Also need to talk to BW. BW and Peter. Is Peter on?
Peter's here.
He's here. Can you guys IM me in Slack if you want your shirt? IM me your address and I'll just ship it to you. Like I'm just going to do it because ultimately I'm going to do away book and so I'm going to do a big old shipping run. So free book, valued at US $60, so $120. And then obviously an ebook as well to give away. So how do we want to do this? Because I didn't really give much thought. and I really should have given a bit more thought. So what we might do is, how have we
You
got?
can just grab some names along the way, Michael, and we can do it at the end or something if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna probably have to go and have a bit of a look for names and try and work out who's here and who's not. So, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And now I'm trying to like, oh, no, that doesn't work. There we go. I'm just gonna do that. All right, so let's keep cracking on. I'm going to hand the reins over to Wayne, and he's going to get started with the keynote talk.
Yeah, the old get random. There we go, done. Throw everyone's name. You got to do a PowerShell, Michael. You got to throw everyone's names into an array, and then you got to do a get random. You got it.
Yeah, I've got to find the I've got to actually go and pull out all the names first because I'm sharing my screen. So, do you want to take control? Yep, I'll stop sharing so I can actually get all the names out, and then I'll get random, and then yeah. Let's see.
Oops. Just give me a second to work out how to Zoom. I've actually never used Zoom before, like properly. Just give me a second to start my PowerPoint.
Yeah, me too. I was struggling with configuring my audio right now. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we got you.
Okay, cool.
Give me a sec. All right.
All right. Let's build an array. Well, you guys are were you experiencing technical difficulties? Oh, you did start sharing. No, that's me. Sorry.
I did start doing now, hopefully.
Okay. No, I was looking at my own slide presentation. I was like, wait a second, that's not me. Hang on.
Is that sharing okay?
Yeah, it's fine. It's just. Oh, hang on. I need to put it on another screen because it's on the. Exit full screen. I need to.
By the way, I'm joining the meeting from my wife's craft room today. So yeah, I don't do a bit of craft.
You're gonna add a dash of glitter.
Yeah. She makes these. I don't know if you can see it, but she makes these amazing.
Wow.
Something I definitely could not do. This is definitely not my handiwork.
Oh wow.
All right. Are we good to go, Michael?
We are good to go. Talk
on getting started with Azure Automation. A very short amount of slides tonight, and then I think I've got 7 demos. So hopefully everything goes smoothly. I've practiced them, so hopefully everything goes smoothly. Let's see how we go. If you haven't used Azure Automation before, this is going to be awesome for you. If you have used it before, you probably find something that you didn't know, because there's plenty in there. So let's see how we go. If you've got questions along the way, just give me a yell, and we'll go from there. It's me. So I'm the Global Infrastructure DevOps Manager at Oscript. Yep, leading a team of awesome PowerShell gurus, which is just great. Enough about me. So what is Azure Automation? So Azure Automation is a service in Azure, and it provides process automation. I just realized the windows here are in my way. I'm going to move this. There we go. That's better. So provides process automation, which allows you to automate basically any process, be it an IT process or a business process. It provides configuration and state management through PowerShell DSC. And it provides shared capabilities such as shared credentials, certificates, and variables. And it also provides update management. Now, there's also one extra bit, which is the change tracking and inventory, where you can consider that to be under configuration management as well. Now, the good thing about Azure Automation is that, although it's called Azure Automation, it actually can work anywhere. All of the features that are available on Azure Automation are available to work on-premises or in any cloud. And that's sort of where I got started with Azure Automation, is doing it in a hybrid setup. So I'll just move on. So process automation is provided through runbooks, and runbooks allow you to basically automate any process. And I think the term runbook comes from like a very old mainframe days type terminology where you had a runbook that told you how to operate a mainframe. If you do a bit of a Google of the term runbook, I think it's been used for many different reasons in IT, in the IT industry over the last few years or over the last many decades, I suppose. But more recently, it was used in System Center Orchestrator. If anyone heard of that, I use that very heavily. Michael's also got a lot of experience with that as well. And then Azure Automation, especially the runbook component of it, feels like an evolution of that. Now you can start runbooks using a variety of different methods. And runbooks are basically just a PowerShell script. They can be graphical and they can be workflows and they can be Python scripts as well. But generally, if you're a PowerShell expert, you'll be writing PowerShell runbooks. And they're just a PowerShell script. That's all they really are. You can start them with webhooks. You can start them via the API. You can start them via Event Grid. Azure Monitor can do it. You name a way you can start a runbook. You can start it that way. And you can execute them anywhere. So you can execute them in AWS, on Azure, on a virtual machine. You can execute them using Azure's platform as a service. So you don't even have to run a virtual machine to run the script. And you can execute them on premises as well. So configuration management allows you to track changes and inventory your servers. So if you've operated System Center Configuration Manager at any point in your career or have seen it operated, it'll do an inventory of your servers. This is similar functionality to that. If you're running configuration management and track changes and inventory on Azure, it's completely free. You pay for the data cost. That's all though, the log analytics storage space. On-premise, it's reasonably hefty. It's about $8 per server. But with that, you also get the configuration management, desired state configuration. And the first 5 nodes are free. So if you're just going to use it for your the servers that you're using to run your runbooks, then it kind of makes sense. And most people normally won't need more than 5 of those. You could put 1 in each domain or 1 in each office or something like that, and work your way from there. So configuration management also allows you to respond to changes. So if a change is detected in your environment, so someone installs a piece of software or a server stops running or a file goes missing or a registry entry changes, then you can use configuration management to respond to that automatically. You could say drop a message in a team thread, or you could run an Azure Automation service to restart a service or reapply a registry setting, or perform automated recovery. And then obviously there's desired state configuration as well. So they call that state configuration now in the Azure portal, I believe. And that allows you to build and maintain your servers. So desired state configuration is handy for anyone. If you're not using Ansible or Chef or Puppet, then desired state configuration is a great place to sort of get your feet wet when it comes to configuration management, or what I like to call configuration as code. And I'll show a little bit of desired state configuration tonight. The last part is the shared capabilities. So within an Azure Automation account, there's a bunch of stuff that can be shared between runbooks and between desired state configuration or state management, and between a number of the other components of the Azure Automation account. And these include things like credentials and certificates and connections. There's PowerShell modules. You can share schedules all across the components of the Azure Automation account. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's it. Now, the rest is demos, because I figured this is called Getting Started with Azure Automation. So let's just show you how it all works. And I'll click around. I've got 7 demos. So I'll just click through them here, and then I'll get started on the actual demos. So we've got a first demo. We'll create an automation account. The next one, we'll do some process automation. The one after that, we'll do hybrid process automation. And then if everyone's still awake, we'll do inventory and change tracking. And if everyone's still here, then we'll do Azure Monitor. And then we'll do configuration management. And last but not least, update management. We're going to tackle all those tonight. So when I said to Michael that I wanted to do a talk on this, and I talked about automating all the boring stuff, update management's up there with the boring stuff. No one wants to manually patch servers and restart them and all this sort of stuff. And there's a range of other things that Azure can take care of, Azure Automation can take care of. And you'll see some of those tonight. So I'll just cancel out of this and close that. I don't need that anymore. Give me a second. Hopefully that's sharing the Azure portal there. Is that working?
Yeah, that's working.
Yeah.
Sweet. Give me a second here.
Is that your MSTN account?
No. That's my personal actual pay-as-you-go account. Yeah, I do have an MSDN account as well, but I tend to burn through the credits pretty quickly on that one. Even though everything I'm actually doing in this tonight is basically free anyway.
Yeah.
I tend to burn through it. Plus, I share my MSDN subscription with a bunch of other people. Both will make use of it in the team. So let's create a resource group, and then we will get started. So in this demo, we're going to create an automation account. So we'll just create a resource group and get started with that. Any questions, just ask along the way. So let me just steal the name from here because bugger typing while you guys are waiting for me. And I'll throw this in. I'll throw this in Australia Southeast. Now, the reason I'm going to throw it in Australia Southeast is because when you link an automation account to a log analytics workspace, and if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about log analytics is basically the place in Azure where you store your logs and your metrics. And it's now being rolled into Azure Monitor. And when you link log analytics workspace to an Azure Automation account, it gives you additional functionality like patch management, change management, and inventory. And it gives you a place to send all your logs, and I'll show you that in more detail later on. So the reason I'm picking Southeast is because that is the only Australian region where you can link your log analytics workspace to your Azure Automation account. You can't do that in Australia East. So that's why that is like that. I'm just going to hit create and create again.
Got a lot of resource groups there.
I do. Hopefully I'm not giving any trade secrets here. No, I'm not. Okay, that's good.
You also have resources in UK South.
Yeah. Network Watcher. Yep. I actually don't know why I have that, but I have that.
There's one that's like super dodgy resource or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that one's on page 2. No. We actually have Oscript actually has an office in UK South, so I was probably checking to deploy checking to see if I could deploy Network Watcher in UK South, whether it's supported or not, before I try it in production. So that's probably what that is.
Right.
All right. So now we're going to create an automation account. So oops, that's the wrong account. Let me go back here. Back here again. Automation. So now I'm going to create an automation account. I'm just searching for automation. This is the Azure Automation logo. So if you see this, you're in the right place. Hit create here. Yep, done. And then give it a name. I probably don't really care what I call it. I'll just call it automation account. Australia.
Southeast,
thank you. Now the Azure Run As account. So what this allows you to do, this could be a potential security risk. So I will actually point out what this does. This allows Azure runbooks to perform operations against the subscription that the Azure Automation account is created in. It basically gives them contributor access. So you can do that here, or you can do it later. I'm going to say yes and create one now, and I can show you in the portal what that looks like. So I'll just hit create now and create the automation account. It doesn't take very long to actually spin up. Should only take a second.
I think the longest process is going to be you enrolling a hybrid runbook worker. when I recorded the demo, it was like 15 minutes. So then with the magic of Photoshop, it sped it up to 30 seconds.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see how we go.
You try and deploy a network appliance, especially gateway. Gateway would take a long time to spin
Oh my
up.
god. Yes, don't get me started on gateways.
Mm.
now 45 minutes minimum.
Oh yes.
And that's if everything goes swimmingly. All right, so we've now got our automation account. We're done. That's how easy it is to create an automation account. We're ready to start actually using it. So I'm going to move on to process automation now. So we're going to set up a small piece of automation that sets the usage location for users, for our users, where the location is not set. So people might have group-based licensing and they might not need to do this sort of stuff, but I just wanted to use this as a bit of an example of something that you can automate in Azure on the Azure side without having to have hybrid process automation. And if anyone has any questions along the way, just make sure you hit me up because I'll understand that I'll be moving at a fairly fast pace. So the first thing that we need before we can operate or do some licensing is we need to have PowerShell modules. So let's go get some modules. And so I'm going to browse out the gallery. You can add a module, like if you've got a custom module, you can add a module here, or you can browse out to the gallery and get a module from the PowerShell gallery. So I'm just going to search for Azure AD and add that in and import. Okay, and I'll just go back to the modules now. So these are the modules that you get by default, and any additional ones that you need, you can add in. So there's the Azure AD one that I'm adding in there now. So while that's importing, we'll go and have a look at what we need next. So first we need the module before we can actually do the thing that we need to do, which is set the usage location for our users. The second thing we need to do is we need to have a look at that runners account, because that's going to give us the access that we need to modify Azure Active Directory. Now, if anyone knows anything about Azure, they'll know that this will be giving my runners account by default will have access to the subscription that it is in, but it won't have access to Azure Active Directory. That's a separate set of security. So what we need to do is we need to go and give it permissions to the Azure Active Directory before it can actually do any automation there. So I'm just going to go in. Here's my Azure Runners account here. If I click on this, it will show you that it has contributor level access to my pay-as-you-go subscription, but it has no access to my Azure Active Directory presently. So I'm just going to copy the application ID because we're going to need to go and look for this in Azure AD. So I'll click, go to Azure Active Directory, and then I will go to Enterprise Applications. Oh wait, did I go? Oh, I did go to the right place. And there's the runners account. I don't know why they have this name, but they have this name. So there's my runners account there. And now what I'll do is I'll go back. So I just wanted to show you what this looks like. I'll go back now. And I'll go to the back one more, back to the roles. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my application to the global reader and the user administrator roles. And you should use least privilege when you're assigning a runners account access to your subscriptions and all that sort of stuff. So for the purpose of this, I need them to be able to change the location of the usage location of my users and read Active Directory, Azure Active Directory.
So so in that instance, you'd be setting global admin?
Yeah, so I'm going to give them global reader and I'm going to give them user administrator, yeah. Not global admin. As tempting as it might be in my particular demo. So you can see here, here's my test account that I've been using to do my testing. So I'm just going to add in another account, punch in that application ID. There it is. Click add, and that'll give my runners account global reader on my Azure Active Directory. And then we will now search for user administrator. You could be more specific. You could do a custom role for this and give them exactly what they need. In my instance, I'm going to want this runner's account to potentially administer users down the track in more ways than just setting the usage location. So I'm going to grant it user administrator, add an assignment here, search for that application ID, and then add it in and grant it access to that role. Now, if I go back to my automation account, I just want to show you something here. Run as. Click on this here. It doesn't show you. I just wanted to let you know that it doesn't show you that it's got access to Azure Active Directory. You need to go to Azure Active Directory to see that. So it now has the module it needs. It now has permission to read and modify my users in Active Directory in Azure Active Directory. So now I'm going to create a runbook that will set the usage location for the users. So I'll go to runbooks. And there's actually a gallery of runbooks here. I'll talk about that while we've got it here, that Microsoft provides and other people can contribute to. Gives you a variety of tasks ready to go. But because we're all PowerShell experts, we probably already have these scripts and we can easily add them into Azure Automation without having to change them very much at all. Typically, they're going to work for the most part in Azure Automation as they are. So we're just going to create a runbook now. I'll give it a name. Now, make sure anyone pulls me up if you've got any questions along the way.
Hey, Wayne, what you did right now was just as equivalent to giving an SPN appropriate rights to read user details from the Azure AD, isn't it?
That would be similar.
Yeah, it's similar. It's not an exact thing because essentially it's an enterprise app, but it's similar. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a service principal and an application linked to the runners. Yeah. So I'm going to set the Azure AD user location. So actually, all I did then was I just created my runbook and then gave it a name. Now I'm just going to quickly bash together the script. No, I'm not. I'm going to copy and paste the script and paste that in there. So very simple script that just gets all the users without a usage location and then sets their usage location to Australia. That's all the script does. So you can see here, this is where I'm importing that Azure AD module. That's why I needed to add that module from the gallery. And here you can see where I'm getting the runners connection that allows my runbook to authenticate and actually access Azure Active Directory and the Azure subscription.
Yep.
Okay, I can see how it works. It's using certificate-based auth. That's how.
Yeah. So
it's obtaining its token.
Did we configure the application ID with a specific certificate thumbprint?
It does that for you.
It does it for you, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's one of the nice things about getting the Azure Automation account to create the runners account for you. It does a lot of stuff in the background, so you don't need to do as much. Get you up and running much faster, but it's not as secure as what it could be if you tweaked it yourself, because the contributor level access to the entire subscription is pretty substantial.
So we did something very similar. The only difference is that we generated the certificate and added the thumbprint, like custom thumbprint, and used the regular AD account instead of letting it generate by itself.
Yeah.
Just a question around modules. So in your script you had import module Azure AD. What if you didn't include that module at the start? Does it give you an error, or does it get it for you?
No, it would error. Yeah. Okay. It needs to have that module available in the Azure Automation account. Now that's if you run it in Azure. I'm going to show you the hybrid side of that, and that works differently. You actually have to install the module on the server before you run the run.
I'll just quickly just chime in for a quick second. I'll ask a quick question. Wayne, can you talk about what versions of PowerShell supported with Azure Automation?
It's 5.1. Yeah. There's no PowerShell core, no newer versions of PowerShell. I haven't heard any support coming either for PowerShell core.
Yep.
But typically everything we're writing in our IT automation space, it's going to be PowerShell 5.1 anyway. Probably could be both, but it's going to work with PowerShell 5.1. and all your older scripts that are currently automating things for you that you might have scattered all over the place, or you might have them running from a script server or something, they're going to come straight in here and work straight away generally. Now I can start the runbook to run it on demand, or I can link it to a schedule. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create a schedule, because schedules are shared between runbooks. You don't have to create a schedule for every runbook. If you want to run something, every Monday, then you can create one schedule and link it to multiple runbooks. There are some limitations with schedules. They're mostly pretty good. But if you want to run something really frequently, schedules can get messy really fast. But if you want to run something daily or hourly or something like that, it's fine. When you start hitting minutes, that's where it gets complicated. So we're just going to run this. Merlin, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So this is basically if you have a script that, say, you've got your set user location, which you normally run on your on-premise AD. This is just taking that on-premise script and throwing it into the Azure cloud. Is that more or less what we're getting at?
Yeah, that's essentially what it does. Yeah.
Yep. So is there any conversion process that you need to be like? Is there something you might need to rewrite that when it would be working on site? You go, oh yeah, but hey, if you take that on site and you put it online, you might have to change these things around. Is there any sort of gotchas that, or is it just if it runs on site, it should run online as well?
No, hang on. There's, I think what Merlin is mentioning is that if this is run against the on-prem Active Directory, whereas I think we are running this against the Azure Active Directory, isn't it?
That's right.
That's correct. Yeah. So,
so if you had an on-prem script that was running against the Azure Active Directory, it would be fine. But if you had an on-prem script running against on-prem services, you would need to rewrite it to run against Azure.
I'm actually going to cover that in the next demo.
Okay.
You'll see exactly what you do in that particular case in the next demo. But anything that only uses cloud services and doesn't interact with your on-premise servers, this is suitable in that particular case. You probably just need to redo the authentication and potentially some of the parameters. I think that there's one parameter type that's not supported in
switches.
Azure Automation.
I think it's switches.
Switches, that's the one. Yeah, switches aren't supported, so you have to change those to something else. But everything else is supported.
And for your your example there, if you had on-prem AD still and you had the AD sync client, the change you've made to set location should then sync back to the local AD services.
All I'm doing in this particular example is just setting that usage location for Azure Active Directory and Office 365.
So let's say if there are any attributes which are written back, those things would sync. However, I think the usage location from memory, it doesn't sync back. So let's say if you're trying to make any changes on Microsoft Office 365 or Azure, like the user information related things, user attributes related things, it would be like doing it from the Azure Automation side instead of doing it from the on-prem. So that is the only difference over here. So rest of the mechanisms remains the same. If it's attribute write back, because that is handled by AAD sync.
Yeah, I know a lot of people actually handle their usage location either via AD sync or AD Connect sync, or they handle it via licensing, the automatic group-based licensing. We don't actually do either of those things where I work. It's currently the responsibility of the help desk to do it manually, and trust me, this script's going into production really soon. Because
one of the first things I set up was that there was a group-based licensing for Office 365 because it was a manual process. So new staff and new students come in, you go, yep, your inbox is starting up now. Give it half an hour. So then I'd like to synchronize the groups up, say assign to a group, away you go. Part of that was actually setting the usage location up there, which I did in the AD sync tool.
Yeah. I think most people do it like that. When I did this example, I was looking for one that's really light on, and I thought, it's not going to apply to everyone, but you get the idea.
But I'll just quickly chime in quickly with regards to some of the questions that you are asking, BW. I was going to say, mate, hold on for 2 seconds, because I can tell you now, Wayne's going to pretty much answer a lot of those ongoing questions that you're going to have. So Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, I think you will, because hybrids really that's really the powerful thing about automation that makes the world turn. So
yeah, and to be honest, I do so much stuff in hybrid automation, which is my next demo, that I actually struggled to find something where I'd actually run it in Azure. We do a little bit of this. We do actually run some runbooks in production in Azure, but for almost there's like 99% or something is hybrid. Yeah. Like one that you might have is starting and stopping VMs or something like that. You might do that in Azure. Azure Active Directory is stuff you might do in Azure, but the rest you're probably going to do hybrid. All right, so I'm going to create my schedule. I'm just going to run it every Monday at 7 a.m. Hit create on that, and potentially I probably want to run that every day, not every Monday, but that's just an example. And then go back to my runbook, and then go here, schedules, add my schedule. So I run it every Monday, and there's no default, there's no parameters, and it's just going to run on Azure. So I've got no hybrid workers or anything to run it on at the moment. And then okay. And there we go. So that's scheduled. So we've just automated that process. That's now out of the way. We can do something much more fun instead of doing whatever that was. If you can imagine that being any process, you've just saved yourself time. And that costs $0 because you get 500 minutes per month free. So your return on investment back to your business is pretty good. It's like I just save time and I cost you nothing. So enjoy. And now we'll do some more of that. So the other thing that's super powerful in Azure Automation is the ability to run these runbooks, not only in Azure, but run them on premise. What if there's something that you need to do on premise, like you need to work with a it's not a firewall, you need to work with a file server, or you need to work with Active Directory, or you need to work with a SQL database.
Local Exchange, if you have any.
Local Exchange. Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yep. Hybrid workers allow you to run books on premises, and it's highly available, so you can deploy multiple servers into a hybrid worker group, and whichever one is available will pick up the job. It's pretty random in the way that actually works. We've tried this, and sometimes, if you've got two in a group, server one will just pick up the whole lot, and server two will never pick up any. And sometimes it'll be like a 50-50 split. So you can't rely on it for load balancing, but you can rely on it for high availability. There's no firewall rules required, so you don't need to talk to the network admin team or anything like that to get this done. We don't want any delays. No, I'm kidding. Enough network admin, are they? This only talks outbound, so it just listens. I imagine, if you don't know anything about Azure, I imagine there's a queue sitting somewhere that these hybrid workers are monitoring, and as soon as a job gets dropped in that queue, they just go and pick it up and start doing that work. So let's go ahead and get this set up. So, like I said before, you want to deploy 2 of these into each hybrid worker group, and you want to monitor them, because once you start automating your processes, you'll want to know whether it's working or not, because they're probably doing something potentially quite important. We have Azure Automation hybrid runbooks that do business critical processes, and if they stop working, then the business grinds to a halt. So you definitely want to keep a good eye on them and put some monitoring on them, and I'll cover that in a little bit later as well. So now we're going to. I just realised that I haven't created my log analytics workspace. Give me a second. I skipped something here. Yeah, all right. I've got to go back to my first demo because I didn't create my log analytics workspace. So give me a second. I jumped ahead. So I'm just going to go to my resource group again, and I'll go add. And oops, what am I doing? Create a log analytics workspace. Create. So, like I said about this before, you need to have this in the same region and in the same resource group as the automation account to use it to its full potential. So I'm going to put them all in Australia Southeast because that's one of the supported regions to link a log analytics workspace to an automation account. and I'll just give this a name. I actually love the suffix that we use for Log Analytics Workspace. It feels like, you know, it's a critical piece of information. It's the law. It has everything. It has everything on everyone. It's like that scene in The Matrix where they say, "As you can see, Mr. Anderson, we've had our eye on you for some time now." So the Log Analytics.
My name is not Mr. Anderson.
It's a bit like that. I've had Azure, and I've been using Log Analytics and Azure Automation for some time. So I get all these legacy tiers. For my purposes, I actually need to use this one because there's limitations on these older legacy tiers that won't allow me to do everything I need to do. So I'm just going to, one of them is create alerts based on log analytics, log entries, or queries, I should say, Kusto queries. So I'm going to go pay as you go. Don't need any tags, so let's go ahead and create this. Let that do its thing. Now, just going to make sure I haven't missed anything else here because I skipped a couple of steps in that first demo. Okay, yeah, I skipped a couple of bits, so we'll go back to the automation account now. So there's a number of ways you can actually link your automation account to your Log Analytics workspace. And one of the easiest ways is to just go into either inventory or change tracking if you're going to use that functionality, and use that to link it. So there's my Log Analytics workspace, and then I'm just going to hit enable in inventory. So this will set up inventory. If I don't have any computers in my Azure Automation account, it's not going to matter. As soon as I start adding them, it's going to start inventorying those computers. So I'm just going to hit enable here, and that actually links the Log Analytics workspace to the Azure Automation account. If you want to see the multitude of other ways that you can do this, I think there's 3, maybe 4 or 5 ways you can do this in total. Go ahead and have a look at the Microsoft Docs for multiple ways to do this. I'm just going to hit enable there. We'll come back and look at this in a little more detail in a later demo. And I'll also just, I'll wait a second actually. I can actually click away. Okay, that's fine. And I will just enable change tracking as well while I'm here. I want to demo that later on as well. I actually love change tracking. It's one of my favorite features, and it's not something that I'm using a lot at the moment, but I very much like it. All right, so now that we've enabled those, we've got our Log Analytics workspace linked to our Azure Automation account. We can go and start onboarding hybrid workers. Oh, my video just went funny. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's being really bizarre. Zoom has freaked out. Okay. Moving on. So let's go into the Log Analytics workspace now. So we'll just go back. It's fine. Oops. Let's go back here. Okay. And back to here. To the Log Analytics workspace. And then there's a bit in this. So I'm glad we're actually doing a recording of this because there's quite a bit to go through to get this set up. So you might not have seen what I did there. I went into advanced settings in the Log Analytics workspace. It's not obvious at all that that's where you need to go, but that's where you need to go. And then you'll want to go down to Windows servers, and then what you get is you get a key and you get an agent for either Windows 32 or 64-bit. And all we really need now is we need to grab this workspace ID, and we're going to need the primary key as well. So I'm just going to jump onto a server, an on-premise server, and we're going to install the Microsoft monitoring agent, which you can download here, and then we're going to register it against this automation account. So let's go. No, I don't need updates to Citrix, thank you. Then we'll go here, and we'll just run. So this is the Microsoft monitoring agent. This is my hybrid worker 1. So I'm just going to run that setup file. And this is the important one. We have to tick this connect to Log Analytics OMS. It's got every name that Microsoft has ever used for Log Analytics in this here. That's what we want to do here. We're not connecting to Operations Manager, so we go next. And it wants a workspace ID and workspace key. So I'll just paste in the workspace ID. Don't hit regenerate because that breaks everything. And then paste in my workspace key. If you want to have a really bad day, if you've automated a whole bunch of things, you want to have a really bad day, regenerate that primary key. I'll go next here. And
this falls on 443 or I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Outbound on 443, everything's encrypted. And everything the hybrid worker stores locally temporarily is encrypted as well. I actually pulled Microsoft up on this a while back because they weren't encrypting a little bit of information. I found some unencrypted data, and they've rolled an update out to Windows, all versions of Windows Server back to I think 2008 R2 to ensure that data is encrypted, which was good to see.
Did you get paid for it?
What's that, sorry?
Did you get paid for it?
No, but at least most servers secure now, so that's always good. So that is now that I've now installed the agent. So now my computer is now talking back to the Log Analytics workspace, but it's not yet a hybrid worker. There's an additional step that you need to do to set up the hybrid worker. And if anyone wants any of these scripts, I can share them. They're mostly Microsoft Docs scripts, just slightly modified anyway. This is a script you can use to, Microsoft provides a script where you can install, I'll just actually run this while I'm talking, speed up this process a bit. Microsoft provides a script on the PowerShell gallery called New On-Premise Hybrid Worker. So you can just download that from the gallery using install script, and then you can run the commandlet here to onboard the hybrid worker into the Azure Automation account. The only things that I need to get is the automation account resource group name, account name, and the workspace name. So I'll just go and grab those while the script's already installed. So I'll just go and grab those. Hopefully I'm not boring anyone here.
Not at all.
I'll just go automation law. That's a great name. So I'll just copy that bit first. I always love where you end up getting names of things from. Like in Azure, you either go to configuration, or you go to properties, or you go to something else to collect whatever ID they need and whatever particular thing it is.
This is probably this is the area where I've always kept having issues, where I was trying to actually enroll the runbook or the hybrid runbook work, and I kept putting something wrong in there because I wasn't, paying attention. I put the wrong ID, and I was like, oh, okay, got to go back and go and grab it again.
Yeah.
So
I think I just called this automation. I think I called it that. I'm going to go double check it because my memory is not.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's famous last words, and then automation account.
There you go. Always double check. There we go. All right. So basically, this onboards the hybrid worker, so it can run runbooks on premises. So we'll go ahead and do that. And there's multiple ways to do this. Microsoft has guides on how to do this with desired state configuration. You could also deploy this, via any other mechanism that you have for deploying software. We personally at Allscript use DSC to onboard our hybrid workers, but you could use anything that you want. Hybrid worker, I nearly forgot this part. So we'll just call this, actually, I don't have one yet, no. Hybrid worker group 1. Now, we name these after our domains at Allscript because we have multiple domains and we deploy hybrid workers to different domains, and we also name them after the region. So we might have domain and then -region that the on-premise server is in. But you could use whatever naming convention you want for your hybrid worker groups. Just know that you're probably going to end up running scripts based on the location if you're, like multi-geo, or if you're multi-region in Australia. And you also may potentially run it on the particular forest or domain that you're in. So just think about that when you name your hybrid worker groups. This is probably a terrible name. So I'll just run this part here now. This usually takes just a little bit of time, and so does the next step. So this is what I was talking about before, where the modules that you've got in the Azure Automation account don't make any difference to your hybrid workers. They won't automatically pull down modules when they run a script. You'll want to put the modules in there on the hybrid workers before you execute scripts that require those modules. And we do that with desired state configuration. We apply the modules, all the same consistent set of modules to all of our hybrid workers, so we know they're just going to run the scripts that they need. So this is basically just going ahead and onboarding that hybrid worker. This actually takes a couple of minutes, so if anyone's got any questions, feel free.
I was going to say, I was going to say, Wayne, do you want to do a quick draw while we're waiting, since we're kind of... Yeah, right. So let's do a quick draw. We've got a couple of people here. We just had Manbear just drop in. So dropped in at the perfect time. So I'm just going to do a get random on array. And we'll find out who is going to be the lucky winner. Oh, and Mitchell just dropped in.
Just in time.
Yeah, just in time. Typical. Gone. And he's left.
Yeah, you go.
All right, cool. All right, sweet. So let's go quickly run a quick one. So our first lucky winner is, drum roll, and this is for the physical book. So our first winner is Matt. Congratulations.
Oh,
wow. You want to work?
Congratulations, Matt.
Yeah. You got yourself a new paperweight, so no, it's a really good book. Send me a PM, and I will mail that over to you.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Thanks
So send me a PM and I'll do that for you. All right. So I'm going to take Matt out of the list because obviously we can't really have.
You can't clean sweep. No, come
on.
Yeah,
can't clean sweep. So we're going to go again. Free license.
Audio issues there.
Sorry, Matt. Okay. We're going to do a now ebook giveaway. So let's give it another go. So quick drum roll. I just actually need a quick check. Mitchell dropped in and out, so
I'm still here. I want to win some free stuff.
Are you? Oh, you are. I thought you disappeared. All right, cool. All right. A quick drum roll, and it's Mitchell. Congratulations.
What did I win?
Is that serious? Is that serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. That's why I was checking. I'm like, is he still here? You want a free copy of the PowerShell Conference Book Volume 2. It's an ebook. So I will reach out afterwards and I will send you the link to that so you can claim your coupon. While we're at it,
Thanks,
I'm going to, might as well. It's this one. We'll give away a shirt as well, since Wayne's got to work. He's got to deal with some MFA issues. So
the
MFA. I'm surprised you got MFA in your own tenant. Like that's quite surprising. Like I have no MFA in my tenant.
I have top secret information in here. I couldn't possibly share it with anyone else.
Like his secret, it's like the secret PlexGet server. Right, so free jersey. Mitchell, you're excluded from the list because again, no freebies, no clean sweeps. All right, so let's do this. Get random, and we do this again. We'll quickly run this again. Sorry, I stuffed it up. Drum roll, and it's BW. You win another shirt. So you have two options. You can have two shirts, or you can return it back to the pool.
Let's return it back.
All right. Let's do that. Because I was like, oh man, everyone's on the list. I didn't expect to give away a shirt, but I'm kind of actually need to get rid of things. So I'm kind of want to get rid of things. So let's do it again, and drum roll. Hey Wayne, can you do a drum roll?
No.
Come on.
I just sorry.
Well, yeah, it's you, Wayne. Congratulations, you won a shirt.
Oh, cool. That's good.
Yeah.
I hope it's a very large shirt.
It's size large, so it's size 8. So I think that's the same size that.
It might end up back in the pool. Let's see how we go.
Okay, all right. Do you want to put it back in the pool or?
No, I don't know how big a size 8 is. I'll at least try it. All
right.
Size 8's a girl's size.
Yeah, is it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's not going to work, is it?
It's the same size as my shirt, so I don't think. Yeah. So
okay. Get it back in the pool then.
All right, let's put it back in the pool.
That's not going to work.
All right. Let's do that. Okay. All right. Another drum roll. Congratulations to Chan. Is Chan there? Is he? I can see he's in the participants, but I don't see video or audio. So I'll just see if he's online. Hello, Chan. Can you hear us? Just chatting the message. If not, I will see if I can reach out to him and see if I can mail him it. So like $8 to mail, so it's nothing. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Michael.
Yeah, no worries. Congratulations to all the winners, and Peter and BW, make sure you message me and your address so I can. I mean, it doesn't have to be your personal address; it can be your work address. Mitchell, even though I'm sending you an e-copy, can you just send me your personal address so I can ship you like a ton of glitter, please?
I had a look. You know what? I can hook you up. It's all right.
Wayne's like, screw it, stop all demos. Let's go get his address from the HR system.
It's weird. I actually live like right above Wayne's house.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm feeling sick today. I'm not coming into work. Yeah, no, you're not sick.
Yeah. All right, no worries. I was gonna see if Chan's there.
I will continue.
Yep, no worries.
So that's now onboarded into Azure Automation. That's pretty simple. It takes a little bit of time because it actually installs a bunch of Azure modules. If anyone knows what it's like to install the AZ module, they know how painful that can be. So that's why that takes so long.
Yeah.
I tried to install the AZ module on a train once. Do not recommend. It's like 3 days worth of installing. Like, I don't know what it's doing. I know you can install specific components, but I didn't know what I needed.
So where in the train did you try and install it? In the engine or in the carriage?
No, just on the way home. Yeah. If your internet drops out installing the AZ module, good luck. All right. So now I want to obviously work with Active Directory on this particular next script that I'm going to do. I've got a script here that's going to disable inactive users in AD. A good script to run. Like, seriously, everyone should be doing this if they're not already. So I'm just going to install the Active Directory PowerShell commandlets. That's all this is. So I'll just get that installing. I can leave that running in the background. That'll install as it goes. It's not going to need a reboot or anything, so I can flick back and go back into the automation account. And then we're just going to go and have a look at this hybrid worker groups. Good. We've got hybrid worker group 1, so this is good. We've got one worker in there. Hopefully I can click through to get the name of it. There it is there. Hybrid worker 1. So we're in business. It's ready to run runbooks. Now, if I'm working with Active Directory, I'm going to need credential. Oh, actually, there was something that I wanted to show you guys in the hybrid worker run groups. Hybrid worker run groups. Runbook. Hybrid worker. I'm going to give up saying that. What? Why is my search not working all of a sudden?
Have you tried turning it off on an end? As a check DNS?
Because I've gone back to the resource group. That's why. Because I'm a dope. What am I doing here? So there's one thing in here that you can set. If I go to properties, so I'm in the hybrid worker group now. If I go to the settings, this is it. You can set a run as. I recommend not doing this. I recommend setting the credentials in your scripts because it makes them more mobile. You know, parameterizing your scripts and passing the credentials in. but you can set a run as account here if you want to, and you can choose a credential that you've got saved in your automation account to run your, and that'll change the service on the hybrid workers that runs the runbooks to run as that account. But I recommend just providing the credentials for the runbooks instead. I just wanted to point out that was there, and that you probably shouldn't use it. So I probably shouldn't have pointed it out. So we'll go back here now. Now you can create credentials. Merlin, you got a question?
You said provide the credentials inside the script. Does that not mean that you've basically got plain text credentials, or you had a secure way of storing those?
Yeah, no, this is the beauty of it. So I can add a credential here, and that will never appear in plain text, ever. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. So I'm going to add a credential here. So this is under the shared resources. I'll actually just go back and show you the shared resources. So schedules, modules, credentials, connections, certificates, and variables are all shared resources that you can use. So variables you might use for, like a group of things that you need to keep an eye on, or a last update time, or something the last time a script ran, or whatever you might use that for. Or you might use it for a bunch of locations that you're going to go and archive data for, or something like that. And credentials are obviously secure resources, anything that needs to be encrypted. So I'm just going to create a credential now for the Azure Automation account in my Active Directory. So I'm just going to create a name for that. Wait for that to paste. There we go. This is not the name of the actual user, but this is just the name you want to use in Active Directory. So probably come up with a naming convention for your credentials, and then enter them all in. And then I'll just add my user account here. So the user account, my Azure Automation account, is that one there. So I've created a user in Active Directory called Azure Automation in the domain, and then my script can now use that credential to access Active Directory as that user. I'll just enter in the password here. Just give me a second. Why is that being so slow? I have no idea why that's being so slow. Create. I think my wireless network might be playing up a little bit. So I've now got a credential that I can use across a number of runbooks. This saves a lot of time having saved credentials, because no one can go in there and read that. Just bear with me. I'm having some network issues. I'm trying to click on that and it's doing absolutely nothing. Let's reload. Everyone still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Having some bizarre networking issue there.
Your video is perfect.
Yeah, bizarre. Really odd.
I've experienced similar sort of issues with Azure Portal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we've been having some issues with Azure today, so I don't know if that could be related.
Yeah, of course I choose to do an Azure demo, it goes down. What do they call this? Microsoft 364 as well. So apparently I can't load the credentials. There we go, finally loaded back up again. Damn, that was being slow. That's ridiculous. So that you never see the password again here. Now you can actually read this password, as you know, you get a PS credential object, so people can actually read this password. So if they have access to execute your runbooks interactively, they can pull passwords out. So just be aware of that when you're setting up security on your automation account. It should be a very privileged location anywhere that you store credentials. So that's just something to be aware of. So I've now got a hybrid worker. That hybrid worker now has the modules that it requires to automate some process, which is going to be against Active Directory. And I've got a credential that I can use to automate that process, to interact with Active Directory. And I can have any number of credentials in here that I need. So now I'm going to go and create a runbook to actually disable these inactive users. Oh, I hope the slowness doesn't continue. This is going to be rough. All right, so create a new runbook. And we'll call this disable inactive user. So I bet you guys have got a whole bunch of things that you can automate or already are automating one way or another to save yourself time so you're not doing boring repetitive tasks. So any of those things are the perfect candidate for a runbook. So I'm just going to create the runbook. And then just quickly write up the PowerShell script. Bam, there we go, done.
Talented.
Then, yeah, super speed. And it's, almost good. And then, so we'll just save that. So all this does is just, we've got a parameter here. And this is one of the clever things that's like really good about Azure Automation. You can see how I've got a parameter. I'm saying pass in a PS credential. That means that when I execute this runbook or whenever I schedule it, I don't provide the actual credential. I provide the name of the credential variable that I've saved in Azure Automation. And Azure Automation goes and retrieves it securely for me. So at no point is the actual credential, like the username and password, stored in clear text.
So you're basically saying whichever account runs this script, use that account credentials to run it.
You'll see it in just a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in the name of the credential that I saved in Azure Automation into the script and say, go and retrieve that when you execute. And not run as that. I'll actually show you if I go back into edit again. It's being really slow. I do not understand this.
In your script, Wayne, I can see that you have not mentioned error action stop. So for some errors, it may still continue. So, like import active directory -error actions. Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that. Fair enough.
Like, surely I did that. That's like the first thing I write in my script. So I'm like, did I seriously? Right. Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually choosing to throw here because that throws back and actually fails the runbook, and that shows up as a log entry for where this runbook has actually run. So you can just using the log analytics workspace, you can query for runbooks that have failed instead of querying for events or log entries in the runbook that have failed. It makes the query faster and more reliable. You know that the actual runbook has failed.
I'm just curious how you structured that catch there. Does write error do anything similar, or is it just not handled in runbooks?
Write error will be the same thing. If you do a write error, does that throw?
No, it doesn't. Write error throws a doesn't throw it. It doesn't produce a terminating error.
Non-terminating.
Yeah. So essentially, it'll carry on. So essentially, it's like if you do a get child item and it doesn't have access to, a directory because access denied, that's a non-terminating error. So it'll just carry on.
Yeah, but if you've got error action preference set to stop, though.
However, if you have error action preference set to stop, it will terminate because essentially then it will.
So I could just do a write error in here. This one here maybe. Oh, when my preference,
Yeah, so in that instance, those errors that you would be writing, I'm guessing they would be then written to the error stream for the output of that specific runbook task.
Yeah. These are just going to the traditional output.
Yeah.
I actually thought about this, and there's probably a number of ways that you could do this. I'd suggest you experiment with this. Cool. And on the runbook, you can actually set some properties around how the logging is handled. I would suggest experimenting with it, working out what works best for you and your team. Cool. For us, we actually rely on the log entries, and I kind of wish that we didn't do that. I kind of wish we actually just failed the runbook when it failed the entire runbook, because it's easier to monitor and it's more visual. But you may decide to go down the path that we went down and actually have the runbook always complete successfully, but then just log errors. You could go either way. So once you've created a runbook, you then have to save it, and then you then have to publish it. So when my computer responds, I hit publish. It's being super slow. I do not understand this at all.
I found that sometimes it's location specific. So like if I selected Australia east instead of southeast. Sometimes it's really fast compared to southeast.
Yeah, this is being brutal, this one.
Mm.
So when I created that credential before, I'm going to need that. So I'm going to hit start here on this particular disable inactive user. And then it's going to ask for a credential. It loads. Might not get through all my demos tonight with this ridiculousness. And then, so instead of actually typing in my password in here, you actually just type in the name of the credential that you've saved in Azure Automation. And then we can't run this on Azure. We need to run this on a hybrid worker, so it runs on premise. Select the hybrid worker group and then click OK. In the background, Azure is going to go off, drop this job into a queue or something similar to that. The hybrid worker will pick it up. It'll go and query the Azure Automation account to pull that credential down, execute against Active Directory, and then return the results of the runbook back to Azure Automation. So you've just provided HA for your scripts, you've centralized your logging, and you've removed clear text passwords from all of your PowerShell scripts in one fell swoop. So that's a big jump forward for anyone who might be using a script box or anything else they might be doing. I know scheduled tasks can get around some of the limitations there, yeah, there's a lot of benefits just from a very simple, simple few set of steps there. So there we go. There's my output there. So it's just found some inactive users. There's actually a bug in the script somehow. I don't know. There's a bug. It's missing the number here. Of course, I've got a bug in my script. And then it's disabling the user. So there's the output. And if it had any, this is where that error stream can come into play. If you do a write error, or if you do a write warning, and then if you do a write verbose, it shows up here, and you can see the type I've used is actually output. So it's quite good the way that all works. You can just log warnings if it's something you don't care about too much, but if you do care about it, you probably want to exit the runbook and not do anything else after that. So now the only last thing to do with that, to make sure that that's automated forever, so I never have to do this ever again, is I just go and I just run that every Monday, and then I just run it with that permission against the hybrid worker, and there we go. I never do that task ever again. So pretty convenient. I'll just refresh this. So that runbook is now completed there. Any questions about that?
I think I was going to make a couple of comments, but I'm kind of just obviously just courteous of time. So I think if there's no questions, we'll just keep pushing on.
Yeah, no sweat. And feel free to take off, guys. If you've got to take off, you've got other things to do or whatever, feel free to take off anytime. Like we said, we're recording this. So I'll probably just try and press on to the end and see how we go, provided my whatever the hell is going on with my connection hangs on. We'll keep going. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was inventory and change tracking. So I'm moving away from that hybrid worker stuff that we talked about there. Hopefully that was just a taste, and hopefully that's whet people's appetite and they want to go and try some more of that. So I'm just going to show you how inventory and change tracking works now. So I'll just go here. All right, so I'm just going to go into inventory here. I always forget where you've got to go here, so just have to quickly read my notes because it's ridiculous. You've got to go here, manage machines, and then you've got to go pick an option here. How many machines, which machines do you want to enable inventory on? And I want to enable it on all available machines and all future machines. So whenever we install the Microsoft monitoring agent on a new server and we link it to this log analytics workspace, then I want to enable inventory on that automatically. So that's done. Takes a little while for the data to start to come in. And the last thing that I'm going to do is do the same thing with, oh, no, it does both at the same time. Never mind me. I thought I had to do these independently of each other. So change tracking has been enabled as well. So now any changes that are made to the server will be recorded in the log analytics workspace, and it'll do an inventory of all the software. And then I can add in custom files and registry keys and stuff that I want to look at as well. But for the vast majority, software is the most handy one there, because if someone installs a new piece of software or something, or you just want to know what software is installed on your servers, that's probably the most handy feature there is there. This costs $8 per node per month. So be careful of this one. If you've got a lot of servers and they're not running in Azure, Azure is free, but outside of Azure, it's $8 per server per month. So if you had like a big AWS deployment or a big on-prem deployment, this could start to add up pretty quickly. And there might be other tools that could do this more cost effectively for you. But if you are entirely in Azure, or you're majority in Azure, or you just want to enable it on your hybrid workers, it's probably a good place to go and turn that stuff on. Yeah, and the first 5 are free, so you don't pay for the first 5 servers, and that'll probably cover your hybrid workers. All right, I'm going to move on to actually let me show you some data. I wasn't going to show you some data, but I will quickly just show you some data. If I go to my test account, I go to change tracking. So so here you can see here changes that have been made against my server. What's changed? You can zoom into a particular point in time and see what changed in that particular time here. So some services were modified. If I go back to inventory here, so we can see, wait for this to load up. So I can see my hybrid worker 2, and it's got this software installed on it, these updates installed on it, and this sort of monitoring agent is installed on it. And then if there's anything else that I was monitoring, then it would also show up here as well.
What's in the machine groups? I mean, is that monitoring local groups or something? Or
I'm going to show you this in demo 7.
okay, cool.
So you can see this one. You can see it. Friday patch cycle computers. So that's what that group is about. And these are actually, the way you create these groups is actually not intuitive at all. It's pretty rough. I don't know what Microsoft was thinking when they did this. But anyway, I'll show you that how that works. I'm just going to move on to Azure Monitor now. So if your runbooks fail or your hybrid workers fail, you probably want to know about that, especially if it's doing like critical stuff. And you can use Azure Monitor alerts to keep an eye on these servers. So I'm just going to go to my back to my other automation again, my new one that I've created today, this one here. And I'm just going to go to diagnostic settings. And I am going to, oh wait, what have I done here? Oh, this is fine. Just going to click add. Oh yeah. I think last time I came here, it's confusing me because last time I came in here, I don't think I saw this. And now I am. So anyways, I'm just going to click on add diagnostic setting, and then I can add the job logs and the job streams to the.
You can edit the existing one. I think there was one existing one as well.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah, so
edit.
Edit settings, and there you can.
Oh, it's already doing it. Yeah, it's already doing it. So what I actually wanted to do, it's already doing it.
Yeah, you can send these to 5 different log analytics workspace. So yeah.
Right, there we go. So it's already sending the job logs and the streams, which is the output stream, so error, warning, and output to the log analytics workspace, and it's also sending the status of my DSC nodes, my configuration state management computers, to the log analytics workspace as well. So that's already being done. So I thought I'd actually have to come and turn that on, but I don't need to. Now the logs are being collected, we can start to act on them. So I'm just going to go over to Azure Monitor. Oops, I think it was here. There it is. And I'm going to go to logs. Bear with my computer. Don't know what that's doing. There we go. And then I think I might be stress testing, actually. I'm doing this call on my Surface. I think I'm stress testing my Surface. I think that's actually the problem I've got here. It's only got a little i3 in it. It doesn't really cut it.
You need an i7 then.
Yeah, I do. Ryan, I'll get you to talk to my wife about needing the i7. This is actually throwing me a little bit here. So of course my demo is going to throw me a little bit. So I'm just going to close that. Wait for it to load. Sorry about the delay. I don't know what this is doing.
Yeah, I've never seen that happen.
No.
So the other thing is that what I noticed is sometimes when you create a resource and when you have just enabled the logging, it takes a while behind the scenes to generate logs and pull it into the workspace.
Yeah,
It does take a while, yes.
From my testing, it took about 8 minutes.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. That was that was when I was raising custom events in log analytics directly. So I would expect it'll be somewhere around that.
Well, it would take more time for resources generated in. I mean, like when I created the, when I was working with the Azure firewall and network appliances, those took considerably longer than I think it even took more than 1 hour to get the logs flowing into the Azure.
That was actually one question I want to ask. So with regards to logs, obviously what's provided by Azure out of the box is that kind of custom that custom logging where essentially you just have, you're capturing different output streams and then pushing them to log analytics. What solutions are in place there for custom logging tools? So for instance, if you're doing, significant logging, what's around that, or what's the best practices when it comes to that?
So, sorry, you'll have to repeat the question. I was dealing with multi-factor. Sorry.
All right. So ultimately, Azure with Azure Automation, it's only pushing the output streams into log analytics.
Yes.
So
and the actual status of the runbook itself.
Yep. Sorry. And the status of the runbook. So with other custom solutions of logging, so let's say yes, you are capturing, multiple streams. So, you do have a both streams and blah, 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 blah. But in terms of like best practices for custom tools, so let's say you have, a custom function that's basically writing to its own log analytics workspace or to this current log analytics workspace using custom events, for instance. What best practices would you have around that? Or what are the best practices? Yeah, okay. The only reason why I'm asking is just because ultimately, for me, like the way I log within Azure right now is I'm log analytics, and I'll either raise custom events or I'll use App Insights to raise custom events. So, and I'll directly raise them in there itself. So, the things that like you can do within custom events, and things like that, you can actually capture objects and things like that. So, you can pass a JSON object directly into log analytics, and it's deserializable. So it's one of those things where it's very interesting just to see what other people's perspectives are when it comes around that kind of that logging.
Yeah. So that is actually the best practice. So let's say if you have something, you log everything, and then using Kusto Query Language, you slice down the things that you need from the logs, pretty much. And then you can.
And that's exactly. I was just going to say, and that's exactly right. You can just use Kusto to slice it. The one thing that actually I quickly wanted to mention, which I think you guys would find quite interesting, is within Kusto, I did find there's a weird intermittent bug with deserializing JSON. So I do know that it's not an object character, like it's not a character limit. It's some sort of object. I think it's a depth limit, but I couldn't fully put my finger on it in terms of reproducibility. But like if you could initially, you can pass, a really basic arrays as a custom JSON, and it will be able to deserialize it quite easily in a Kusto query. However, if you tried to actually do something a little bit more complicated, so like get process and then serialize that as JSON, you're in for a bad time. So it won't actually, like, it'll pass it'll basically pass a malformed JSON string. So anyway, that's just totally segued out to something else. But yeah, we'll get back on track.
I'm sure that'll catch me at some point, and I'll remember that you've said that. Michael said something about JSON, and that's what it was. Yeah.
Sorry, you keep going.
What I wanted to show you in here quickly was the example queries are actually awesome. So if you don't know Kusto very well just yet, the example queries are a great way to start. And, it's got awesome ones in here already. So Azure Automation jobs that have failed, blah, 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 suspended or stopped. Like, that's awesome. That's probably like one of the common things that people are going to want to know. Where's another one? There was updates. Summary of updates available across machines, or missing update summary. Like, these are reports that people are going to want to give to their management. These are reports that people are going to want to give to auditors and that sort of thing. So, and they're all in there, and you can just load them into the editor, or you can run them directly, and then away you go. I've got a particular one here that I wanted to run because I had a situation recently where I needed to prove that we'd disabled a user account in an inactive user. Prove that you've done that. To an auditor, and all I had in that particular instance was a text file that said this user's been disabled. Like, I could have literally opened that up in Notepad and gone, I disabled the person, save, send. But like, if it's in Log Analytics, there's more to it. It's a better source of information. It's a better place to keep your information.
Yeah, you can completely create dashboards and other things with this Kusto Query Language, pretty much.
One other quick thing I just quickly want to chime in with Kusto is that for the people who are trying to get into Kusto, honestly, Kusto requires a talk on itself. It's that good. Yeah. For people who are more SQL minded, or there's Microsoft, I've done a ton of awesome work around being able to fully understand how to write a Kusto query. So if you've come from a DBA background like me, basically having a lot more of an understanding of select queries and things like that. I literally looked at the white paper and gone, okay, I've got a pretty good understanding and I can hit the ground running. So they've got these really awesome translation guides that are available online. So definitely, I think it's a talk for itself. But if you guys wanted to sink your teeth into it, Microsoft have excellent documentation on this product.
Yeah. So here you go. Here, someone comes to me and says, I'm an auditor. I want you to prove that you disabled XYZ users. Send me the list of the users that you've disabled, the last 5. Send me the list. When did you do it? How was it done? There it is. One Kusto query, and away I go. It told me that I was disabling, Sammy Jones here. And then when it was done, everything else that you might want to do. There's obviously a lot more properties on that particular runbook if you need them. There's just an example of how you could quickly demonstrate that you've done something to someone if you needed to. And you could go ahead and save this query off and keep it if you needed it.
How do you save it? Like, can you bookmark the queries? I've still not figured out.
Yes, so there's 2 ways you can.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can either you can actually create you can save it like as a shared. You can share it, save it and share it, and you can also create a stored prompt where you can essentially call on it,
like a named function type thing.
Yeah, it's named function. Yeah.
Strangely, I don't get that save option, but that's okay.
You really don't get the save option?
Yeah, seriously, I don't get the save option.
Mine's actually
not kidding.
Mine's actually grayed out here.
Oh well, okay. Well, yeah. So maybe. Yeah.
I think it's because I'm in Azure Monitor and I'm not actually in the Log Analytics workspace.
Yeah.
If I flicked over the Log Analytics workspace, that side button would light up. I'd have to check that. Now I'm going to just run one more here. This might not be particularly useful, but I'll just load this query up here as well. Let me see if this is going to let me do what I want to do. No, it's not. All right, I'm going to the Log Analytics workspace.
So while you're doing that quickly, Wayne, I'll just quickly talk about Kusto for 2 seconds for the people who are actually...
and I'm calling it Kusto too, by the way, from now on.
I call it Kusto.
Yeah, Kusto.
Yeah, I've heard multiple. It's a bit like the Azure and Azure.
Yeah, it's a bit like that.
Yeah. So one of the things with within log analytics is that when the amount of money that you paid for the storage is so little. So if you're storing, like 90 days worth of logs, you're not paying for anything, and you can be really aggressive with your logging. And the really good thing I love about this is that at the end of the day, though, it's the Kusto query, or the Kusto query, Wayne, that basically it determines what you want. So if you want to type verbose, if you want to type, warning error, like that's basically you. But having the data there is the most important thing. And that's what the thing is that I always find with any sort of logging, but mainly, especially in Azure, having those kinds of features just makes your life so much easier, because with confidence that you can go, okay, I can drill down to the debug level if I need to on the debug type stream and go, okay, this variable with this parameter name and property, blah blah blah. So you can be really, really liberal with your logging, and that's one thing I really love about it.
Yeah, it's good.
Tell me one thing. Let's say if you create a resource, right? So you've created a resource, you have enabled the logging, you have got the logs, and let's say if you delete the resource, then you create another resource pretty much with the same name. What happens with the logging?
Do you mean Do you mean the resource group or the resource itself?
Yeah. So let's say, for example, you created you enable logging for gateway, for example.
Yeah.
So logs are going into, you have enabled the monitoring matrix and logging for that specific offering, which is the network gateway. You're getting the logs. The logs are in the logging, and you can query it through Kusto. Let's say you delete that resource. Let's say you wanted to create another one, and you delete that resource, you recreate the resource. So does it retain the old logs for that specific resource?
It's just a dump. It's just a dump. You can put whatever you want in there. Like, you could fill it full of Rick. Yeah, that's exactly right. You could fill it full of Rick Astley lyrics, and it'll stay there.
And there might be an ID in there that isn't the resource ID, Rana, that you might be able to use to tell the difference between the old one and the new one.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
But the resource ID would be identical. So if there's not some other, GUID or something like that in there, then you're not even going to be able to tell that it was deleted and recreated. Except for the fact that the logs will also say that.
Yes. So that is the those the logs would say that. Definitely, the logs would the Azure logs would say that. But let's say I was not sure whether when we create a resource, what is the unique ID called for that specific resource?
I thought it was the resource ID, but I don't know if there's another one. I'm probably not enough of an expert on Azure to know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there'll be an object ID or something like that will be associated to it.
Something like that.
Because there's always an object ID. Always an object ID.
I feel like there would be some other globally unique value, but I'm not 100% certain. Can't say for sure. So this particular one that I've got here, this particular query that I've got, what it does is it checks the checks the runbooks to see if any of them have failed, stopped, or suspended in the last 5 minutes. And you'll see why I've done 5 minutes there in a second. And then just pump out this information. Now I've got the query here. All right, I want to know whenever this happens. So I'll just go new alert rule. Every time one of my runbooks fails, I want to be told. So I've got that set up there. I go in here. You can see the cost there. $150 $150 a month. Pay the man. No, if this is greater than 0, then I want to know about it. Minimum time frame you can do is 5 minutes. So that's why I did the query for the last 5 minutes. You probably could do a little bit of an overlap there if you wanted to. You could do 6 minutes or something there if you wanted to, but you might get doubled up entries where it tells you twice that it's failed, and then we're done here. So every 5 minutes for the period of 5 minutes, if the threshold is above 0 for the number of runbooks that have been failed, suspended, or stopped, then give me an alert. And then what I want to do with that alert is I want to create an action group. I know I'm flying through this. If anyone's done anything in Azure Monitor, this will be super familiar. But if you haven't, this might be all new. And then what I want to do is I want to email contributors. Do I have to put it in twice? Yes, I do. And if anyone knows anything about Azure, they know there's usually like, must be lowercase, cannot contain spaces, must contain only underscores. It kills me. I'm going to put this in the same resource group when I can find it. What did I call it? What did I call my resource group? Whatever. I'm going to put it in the default because I can't be bothered finding it. And then what I want to do is I want to email a resource manager role, and I want to email contributors. And then I don't need to enable a common alert schema because I'm not hitting event grid or anything like that. And then hit OK. And then it doesn't like this because the display name can't be like, just stop Azure. And then we're okay. So every time, I don't have a unique action name. Okay, all right, cool. Do this as well. All right, everything's accepted. We've worshipped the Azure gods, and we now may have an alert. And then severity. So severity 0 is critical, and then all the way down to the lowest severity, which is 4, which is just verbose information. So if one of those has failed, suspended, or stopped, then I probably want to do Sev 1, unless it's like a mission critical process, then I might do Sev 0. So I'm going to go Sev 1 for that. And then I've missed something here. What have I missed? Oh, select an action group. I didn't actually add the action group. There we go. Select that. So whenever this condition is met, email the contributors and then make it a severity 1. And I've still missed something. What have I missed now? Oh, a
Rule name.
What? Done. Create alert rule. So there we go. So we've now got centralized logging. We've got secure passwords. We've got monitoring for all of our automation. I don't know where everyone else is at in their automation journey, but that may feel like a pretty big step forward, or it may feel like a baby step depending on where you guys are at in your automation journey. But we now know why did that not save? That did create the rule, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I love it when it does that. Are you sure you want to discard your changes? I think so. Did you do the thing I asked you to do? Yeah, okay, we can cancel then. Yeah, any questions on that? I know there's a lot in that. If you haven't seen Azure Monitor before or Log Analytics before, there's a heap in that. I guess this is just to sort of let you know what's there, and then you can go and dig deeper and learn more about it if you're interested in doing that. I'm just going to move on to configuration management. Like I said, guys, I know it's getting late in the night, so feel free to bail whenever you want to. I did not expect this to go as long as what it did. And it's been a little bit slow as well. But I didn't want to have too few demos, so that's why we are where we are at. I'm just going to move on to configuration management now in the same thing. So if I go back to the automation account and I go to configuration management, that's where this is here. Now, what you do is you create desired state configurations, then you compile them, and then you onboard your servers into configuration management. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create a configuration, and I'm going to browse out. I actually should show you that as well. Actually, let me just edit that. Just give me a second. It's loading. So all I've got is a little bit of desired state configuration, and all this does is just make sure that the hybrid worker or the Microsoft monitoring agent service is always running. That it's present, that it's running, and then it's running as local system, and it's got its startup type and its health service and stuff there as well. So that's all this configuration does. It's pretty simple, and it had the node hybrid worker 1 there, so it's going to apply to that server when I onboard it, and hit OK. And then that configuration is in there. Oh, did it take it in there? There it is. Yep, there's my configuration. Now I can compile that when it loads. I did another talk on DSC a while back. Did we record that one?
Yes, we did, because I was lolling about when Gail jumped in chat.
Oh, yeah. Kill me. hit compile, and then this creates the configuration or the configurations based off what I've defined. I'm not going to go into great detail about how DSC works here, but if you're interested in having your servers self-heal or configure themselves or whatever you might want them to do, that's what configuration management is all about. Azure Automation obviously offers that as well. So I'll just go back here. And then eventually I'll end up with a compiled configuration once the compile. Oh, I hit compose by accident. Didn't want to do that. That allows you to build configurations without without knowing how to write DSC. That's what that compose configuration is for. I haven't spent too much time using that. So I'll just wait and see. This is starting now. It's just compiling now. I'll just wait and then it will compile the configuration. So that's done. I'm now going to go and get the keys. So when you want to onboard a server into Azure Automation configuration management, you need the URL and the keys, primary or secondary key, probably the primary key, unless you're rotating them.
BW, do you have a question?
Yeah, the DSC, is that available in hybrid environments or is this purely Azure environments?
Yeah, that's both. It's available in both. Yeah. We primarily use desired state configuration where I work at Audscript in our hybrid environment. We also use it in Azure as well, but primarily it manages our on-prem servers. So I'll just go back over here now and go into that hybrid worker 1 server. I can close this off. I don't need this anymore.
We only need the key for the on-prem servers, right?
Yeah, the way you onboard them in Azure is different. Yeah, you add an extension and it's different how it works there. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
The way we've done it is only through ARM templates is how we've onboarded them into DSC and Azure. Very different to the way it works. So I need that URL and I need that registration key. So I'll just go and grab the registration key.
That's one thing I've always found as well is that the namings are slightly different. So here you've got primary access key and then you've got registration key and as the parameter name. So you kind of that was the one thing that always tripped me up when I first kind of started, is it like when, especially with creating any sort of like function app or anything like that, it's like, is it a client ID or is it an application ID? They're the same. Oh, okay. I've been trying to fuck around for ages. So
they don't make it easy. They definitely don't. No.
Yeah.
So what this is going to do is it's going to register with this automation account using this key. And which computer am I doing? Well, I'm doing this computer. And then which configuration am I going to pull? I'm going to pull server DSC and then a dot and then the name of this computer. You could call that whatever you want. You could have very generic configurations like hybrid worker if you wanted to, if it didn't have anything specific to this computer in there. And then how often do you want it to refresh from pull down a new configuration? And then how often do you want it to apply the configuration? You can set these and you actually build every time it does these things. So you probably want to make them as infrequent as you possibly can. And then here is, do you want to reboot the node, the server that's being configured automatically if it needs to? And then do you want it to overwrite any modules if it needs to? And then this here is the important one. By default, when you grab this script from Microsoft, I think I've got it up the top here where you can grab it from Microsoft from. Oh, no, I don't actually. Microsoft provides this script on docs.microsoft.com. And by default, this doesn't have apply and autocorrect. I think it has apply and monitor, which won't fix the service. Like if that health service script, health service servers had stopped running, it wouldn't actually start it again. So that's why I've changed this to apply and autocorrect. And then what should it do after it reboots? It should continue configuring again. So if there's anything else that needs to be done after a reboot, then it should do that. And then this here is whether you want it to do anything at all. This is like the master switch, whether you want it to just report its status or whether you want it to actually do things. So you probably want to have all that set. So now this generates what they call the meta configuration for DSC. What have I done here? I haven't even loaded any of the stuff in. Just give me a second. I've loaded only the bottom part of the script, not the entire thing. Do this. That's going to generate the meta configuration. So there's my meta config there for this server. And then I will set the DSC local configuration manager. I know there's a lot in this. If you haven't done DSC before or seen any DSC before, this is probably completely foreign. But if you have, then you're probably not learning a hell of a lot from this. So that's been onboarded now into the automation account. If I go into state configuration DSC, I can see my server is in there. It's compliance. If I go into the consistency there, I can see the service Microsoft monitoring agent is compliant. And if that ever falls out of compliance, DSC will put it back in again. It'll just automatically start that service stopped, or if someone's misconfigured it in any way. Does anyone have any questions on that before I move on? I just wanted to very briefly show that for anyone who hadn't seen DSC or Azure Automation DSC before. All right, I'm going to press on. I've got one more demo, and that's update management. So we now need to configure group creation. So I'm just going to go into the log it back over to the log analytics workspace. So I'm going to configure update management. If I go to automation law here, and then I'm going to go into advanced settings, the place that you seem to go for everything in log analytics. Eventually, I think they'll get rid of this is the old OMS interface that's just sort of pasted into log analytics, which is really bizarre. You can see this computer groups section here. This is what we need to configure because I want to have some groups that I can use to set up for my patching of my servers. I want to group them by a particular patch cycle or importance or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the Microsoft monitoring agent automatically collect the group memberships for my computers from Active Directory. I could also do that from WSUS or SCCM. I'm just going to collect it from Active Directory for now, so I'll hit save on that. Going to go ahead and go and grab those group memberships from the from AD, and now I'm going to go back to log analytics, and I'm going to create a saved search. This is how you create a computer group. This is what I was saying earlier, Ryan, when I was saying it's not very intuitive. What you do is you create a log analytics. You create a log analytics query that returns computer objects, and then create a saved search from that, and that becomes a computer group.
Ew.
Yeah. So it's really like not super intuitive at all. So I'm going to call this Friday. Of course, one I can type. Category, and then I'm going to paste in a query. So what this does is, that was weird. So this is going and querying log analytics for computer groups where the group source is Active Directory, and the group name Friday patch cycle.
Is that query Kusto as well, or
that's a Kusto query?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm going to save this, and I believe I have to set this. Yeah, they're required for computer groups, so I have to put this in here as well. This is, like I said, Microsoft. I feel like Microsoft has dropped the ball here a little bit. This is rough the way you have to do this, but that's how I can get a group that I can target my patches. So it automatically gives me other ones, but there's that one as well. Let's go back now to the automation account. And then remind me, just give me 1 second here. Make sure I haven't missed anything because there's so much in this. If I go to update management now. I can enable that. Just give that a second. This is actually quite slow.
So this update management would be used instead of WSUS. Is that right?
Yes. It allows you to just keep your service patched, basically. And it only does Microsoft updates from what I can tell. I haven't found a way to make it do other software as well. Like if you need to update Java or something else, whatever you might need to update. I haven't found a way to make it do that yet.
So it's kind of a stripped down version of WSUS then, in other words, is it?
Yeah, it's like a cloud version of WSUS basically. Update management is completely free. They used to charge the same $8 per node for this, but AWS had a competing product and they just gave theirs away for free. And then all of a sudden Azure's was free as well. So it tends to work like that. I'm glad we've got at least two major cloud providers. It kind of keeps them honest, I think.
So would there be any good reason to try and deploy a WSUS server in, as a separate VM instead of this?
I would do this. It makes your reporting easier, and if they're already linked in here, I would do this. I wouldn't bother with WSUS.
BW's got a question.
I'll answer the WSUS one. Based on my personal experience, I've never had any luck with WSUS. It's just been an absolute, for such a simple service, it's been more time than it's worth. Like running out of hard drive space, then you have to go through and find half a dozen different community provided scripts to try and clean up the database on it. It's just point them to the internet and away you go. This could also be used. My question was, this could be used for client devices. It's not strictly server. So if you wanted to point your Friday update computer AD group to end user devices, you could patch them as well as not server only.
You could. You just need to be aware of the expense. Oh no, sorry, update management doesn't have an expense. My bad. Sorry, I thought they removed that. Yes, no, definitely can do client computers with this. Yeah, and they will update anywhere. So as long as they're connected to the internet, they'll update. They don't need to be on the corporate network or anything like that.
It doesn't need SSCM or Intune.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a couple of AD joined Azure joined laptops that through Intune, so it'd be good to have a bit more patching control over those. As I set up Intune in a very brief amount of time, haven't been able to revisit it since then.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. This isn't the most full-featured update management tool I've seen. It's not bad. I think AWS's Systems Manager has a few more features than what this does. It's a little bit more versatile, and it's also free. So I would definitely compare the two. But if you're all in on Azure and you've already got everything in here, this is not a bad option. So definitely have a look at what's out there. Did you have another question, Mel?
Yeah, did this need the agent on those end devices? Like I saw the bit where it says it scans AD and gets a group, but to actually do the patching on the machine, does it need the MOM agent on it? Was it?
The OMS, right. Yeah, the OMS agent.
All right, so now I'm just going to schedule the update deployment. We'll see if this works because I think it might fail on the groups or it might not. Yes, this is going to fail. Oh, is it going to? No, it's not. Here we go. Friday patch cycle. So we'll add that in there. I just want to check if this worked before I did anything else. So Friday patch cycle. So this is actually going to schedule the deployment of the updates now. And then groups to update. We can ignore machines to update because we're just going to do the groups. And then which update classifications we're going to do. We're going to do the two important ones. Now, Azure actually only reports compliance on the first two. They actually don't care about the rest when they report compliance. So, bang, first two. And by the way, doing these other ones is dangerous in production. Doing some of these other ones, especially like updates down the bottom and update rollups, they can have serious implications. So if you want to meet your your obligations to make sure your servers are patched and they have security updates, then I'll do the top two. So now,
does it cater for 0-day vulnerability stuff like that as well?
Yeah, so the updates are it'll poll Microsoft Update, so it has all of the updates. As soon as they're available on Microsoft Update, they're available here. But unless you've got a patch schedule that runs daily or something more frequently than that, then you're only going to get them on in your next patch cycle.
Okay.
So in here you can actually, like, if you've got a known bad KB, you can put that in there in the exclude list. So you can say, I definitely do not want this KB article because that patch breaks my version of whatever. So that's how you can exclude bad updates. So that's worth knowing. Oops. Okay, I want to go back. Yep. And then obviously the schedule. So when do you want to do it? And we want to do it once a week on a Friday. And we probably want to do it at a different time to that, but I'm just for the sake of time, I'm just going to do 8:27 p.m. And then pre and post scripts. This is where Azure dropped the ball, I feel, because these pre and post scripts only execute in the context of Azure. They don't actually run on the machines that run the updates. So one thing that you might want to do after you've run patches on a server, is you might want to reboot it. And you can actually do the reboot always or not here, or you might want to check something like, is a service running? Can you access a database? Is IIS up and running? You can't do that through here because they run in the context of Azure. They don't run on the actual PC.
Wouldn't you use
DSC to do it?
DSC to do it?
Yeah.
Isn't that the point of that? To make sure the state's running?
Yeah. I would do DS. I would use DSC to do that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But people tend to get I don't know. People tend to get weird about this. I've done this deployment at Ausscript, and they, unless you've got something that goes and checks, they feel like something's going to break. And we've had it running there for multiple years now. I think 2 years we've had this running for now. Not Azure specifically, but automated patching, and it doesn't break. I think we've had like two issues in total over that entire time, and they were both minor. One was as simple as just roll the server back and then exclude the KB article, and I don't even remember the other one. It was so insignificant. One of the reasons that people automated patching is because of that sort of stuff. So I think that's it there. I'm not gonna run any pre and post scripts, but what this is handy is if you need to power on VMs. So if you've got VMs that don't run all the time, but you need to keep them up to date, that's where the pre and post scripts are handy. Start the VM, patch it, power it back down again. If you've got devs who are using VMs intermittently or something like that, how long you want to do, how long you want to allow for the maintenance window. And I haven't actually deep dived into what happens when the maintenance window expires. Well, there you go. So it's telling us there what it actually does. I know AWS's equivalent of this will run over the maintenance window. It doesn't go. Yeah, it'll run straight over the top of it. And I don't know if Azure is the same. I haven't deep dived enough and tested it yet. I feel like I want to put like somehow make it sleep or something, or make it slow and try and make it run over the maintenance window and see what happens and see if it reboots during business hours. But I haven't had a chance to do that yet.
Well, it's going to indicate that it'll finish up what it's doing, and if there's anything more in the maintenance window, just holds on. Reading that little flavor text there.
Yeah, and what concerns me is if an update takes too long. Like there's not much you can do about that.
Yep.
Just want to make it
happen.
Yeah. In progress updates will finish being applied. So there you go. I guess that's if it's still doing it, it'll keep running until that's finished, and anything in the future will just be scheduled for the next time.
Yeah, that's right.
The problem is that like you've got this long running update, it finishes, and the thing is then you're going to have like a half, like in a sense you've kind of got your server is pretty much in a half state. So it's actually like, it's so dumb because ultimately it actually makes just better sense to reboot the server, finish off the update so that everything's clean, than rather than having a server in this kind of half state where potentially you are going to have significant issues and then you're going to reboot anyway.
Yeah, that's right. And what's interesting about this is, say this was set, you did actually run over. This is the part I don't know. If the update takes longer than the 2 hours to install, and then it finishes installing that last update, like Merlin was just saying, will it reboot or will it skip the reboot? That's what I'm
guessing. If it's got always reboot there, I would assume it would always reboot.
And potentially outside of the maintenance window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just something to be aware of, I suppose. I'm going to test this before I roll this into production.
And then you can always report on if reboot is pending.
Yes, you can. Yeah. There's a registry key you can check on that as well.
Yeah. It's used for those pesky SQL installs, I remember.
Yeah. So that's probably something you'd want to put in inventory. Is something to look for pending reboots as well. You could take action if you wanted to in the registry here. But yeah, that's all I had. That's all I had to show today, guys. Any questions or comments or anything?
It was good. It was really
It
good.
was great session. I think it should have been a bit more comprehensive. I would say a bit more longer session would have been good.
Yeah, I had to draw
maybe,
a line
maybe
somewhere.
Yeah, maybe
should
we
have
could
demoed on all our instances and all our client instances as well. And
what was that? Sorry?
Yeah, maybe. Sorry.
I was going to say, you should have demoed it on all of our instances of Azure as well, just to make sure we each could see how it would work in our environment.
I'm just going to patch all your machines, and we're done.
Yeah.
No, I think this is just a suggestion. I don't know whether what you guys think about it, but for such amazing topics, I think we can have 2 sessions, 2 separate sessions. I'm up for it. I would be happy to see 2 sessions.
Yeah, I think we could definitely deep dive into some of the stuff I've showed today a little bit more. There's a whole bunch in that hybrid process automation stuff that I didn't cover. That's worth knowing. And obviously configuration management is massive. I've already covered that in great detail. But yeah, there's plenty more in there. Change tracking and inventory, and acting on changes when they occur and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch that you could cover off there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think, since this is a massive area, I think this can be divided into multiple sessions, and that would be great.
Yeah.
Have multiple sessions.
From my point of view, it seems like there's sort of 3 major areas. You've got basically, I guess, run PowerShell scripts in Azure. Then you expand it by adding the logging onto it. And then once you've added logging, you get basically your DSC as well as your, what we just covered there, patching as well. So it sort of like seems to be 3 distinct phases. You do one, then once you have the logging, that's when you really unlock all the potential to do. You decide, say, configurations plus patching plus whatever else it is you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I think. There's from what I can see and imagine, there would be more to it. Like, for example, if we have VNet where we have few servers running, then if you just want to limit that specific VNet to try and communicate with this services, so even in that sense, there would be a lot to chip in terms of sessions.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to add there. So I think it's really going to come down to time.
Yeah, that's right. I guess my main goal tonight was to just sort of whet your appetite.
Yeah.
Automation.
Yeah. I would love to have an extended session on each of these topics. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. Peter and BW, can you please iron me an address and I will send you your shirts. And I've got everyone else. I've got Chan's address, so we'll go and mail some shirts.
But then I have to wear it once a month, right?
No, you don't have to wear it once a month. You have to wear it all the time.
Every Friday and once a month. That's all.
Yeah, like Friday's normal day for you. Every other day is wearing the shirt, and then people ask you, no, it's all good. So when you guys can send me that, that's all good. I'm moving house, so I'm actually really like if you look downstairs in my house, there's nothing. Guys, do that. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Wayne, for an amazing talk. There was a lot of content to cover, but I do think that there's some really good discussions that came out of it, and there's awesome content in everywhere there. I learned a lot. So I think I think there's a lot to take home, and I think for people who are kind of getting introduced into it, because obviously you've used automation for quite some time now. There's a lot to get your teeth stuck into, but I think the biggest benefit you can have just from automation is just in general is the fact that all your scripts are in one place.
Yeah.
And when you go hunting for code, you don't have to go hunting on countless machines out in the wild trying to find some simple script that's running as a scheduled job that's running under Python for whatever reason, and these kinds. Yeah, so it's a really, really important tool. So I definitely recommend checking it out. I know for instance, BW in schools, it would be very, very important for you guys, because I know working in schools, I have set up automation in one of our schools, one of the schools, and it's a really, really, really important. It's a really successful tool. So I think yeah, it's something that I definitely recommend having a look at, and getting around putting it in there. So
I definitely see the advantage. It's the automation side of things. I said prior to start, we're just starting like basically group distribution, automation, and currently our scripts are run on one server. So to put it into Azure, then use a hybrid mode to basically say, hey, we can have any server, workstation, whatever, just run the script. We don't care. That makes it really easy. I just set up Git for our organization. So we started to put our scripts into Git. So it makes it really easy for us to then go, change it in Git, copy and paste it across into the hybrid mode, and away we go. We don't have to worry about anything else.
One of the features that you can do with automation is, and Wayne didn't get to demo it, but you can actually deploy runbooks via Git. I think you can also do by DevOps as well, directly into automation. So you can have your DevOps pipelines or your GitHub actions basically deploy into it. So I think, okay, Wayne's just going to do another quick demo.
I'll just quickly show you where it is. Yeah, so in source control, you can then add source control and link to a GitHub account.
Oh, that's sweet.
Mind blowing.
Like my use of Git is very limited. I'm just getting the hang of pushing and pulling multi-users. That's not quite there yet. It's basically, hey, I made a script, I published it to Git, so the rest of the team have access to it. So it's on a very rudimentary, but that would be super sweet to do that.
Yeah,
does this is it possible to expand it? So if you make a completely new script, it can auto publish it straight in there and away you go, or do you have to go, hey, publish the Git and then come across here and then
No, automatically.
You can deploy it.
That is actually really cool.
You just have one repo with all of your runbooks, and then bang, they automatically just show up in Azure Automation.
That's really cool.
I don't think it does the schedules for you though. I think you have to do that manually.
What you could probably do there is you could probably like this is super advanced stuff, but essentially you could have a DevOps pipeline to be able to do that for you. So if you did want to actually create schedules and things like that, you could just literally like have configuration in your GitHub repo, and then just have GitHub actions. Like
we actually don't use this source control at Oscript. We use Azure DevOps pipelines to deploy our script to Azure Automation, and we have the schedules in PowerShell data files.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So essentially, you can just publish it that way. So in GitHub, though, you would have the equivalent of pipelines. You'd use GitHub Actions. It's very similar to Azure DevOps, except to be honest, DevOps is easier for me because I'll be honest, I hate reading YAML. I don't like don't get me wrong, like it's still pretty easy to understand. It's just that I think everyone just likes to be able to create, add a PowerShell script. I want to run Pester before I build. I want to run, PS script analyzer. I want to do all these kinds of things before I build. So, things like that. But at the end of the day, though, I think it's a really cool piece of technology, and I think that take advantage of it. It's free, to an extent, but there's a lot of really, really awesome, product, a lot of cool features in there that. Just here to make your jobs a lot easier.
Yeah, so 500 minutes of automation, as long as you're not running ridiculous scripts, that's a lot of automated tasks for $0. That really is.
Yeah.
And especially like if you have just started getting on with this Git, then it probably would be a good idea to try and explore the DevOps, Azure DevOps as well, because I believe that the teams would cost you in Git, whereas in DevOps, multiple people can contribute.
Oh, yes, that's now free and running.
It's free. So for our organization, it's free for us. We work within the confines of what they give away for free in the teams.
Yeah, schools get good. Schools get a lot of free stuff.
Well, I think Microsoft is just trying to keep everyone with Git because the community got a bit angry that Microsoft bought GitHub. So there's obviously GitLab now, and so they're like, hey, if we do the teams for free, we keep a lot of projects in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was kind of hilarious though. That people kind of got a bit upset about it. Personally, I just couldn't care less because at the end of the day, though, whether it got brought under Microsoft, whether it got brought under whatever, it's a good product. That's all I care about. It's the product itself. Like, unless they're going to like gut it and then do something terrible with it, which I don't think they will, because GitHub is so prevalent in the community. It's not going anywhere. So,
well, my
anyway,
understanding is that Microsoft had to expand GitHub because they put the kernel in there, so it couldn't handle it. So they had to write a lot of code for GitHub in itself to be able to handle the Microsoft kernel alone. So yeah, I don't think even if community goes, Microsoft's probably still going to keep using it.
Oh, GitHub has just gotten better. Like with GitHub Actions, I'm so happy. Like GitHub Actions is so good. It's really quick too. But anywho, I'm going to wrap it up there because we've been recording for 2 hours. Thank you guys for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll see you guys next month. It's going to be a talk about crazy segue. It'll either I think it's either going to be Alex. It will be doing the talk. He's not here tonight, unfortunately, but it'll be either Alex or Mitchell. I can't remember.
No, I actually haven't teed anyone up. Yeah.
Okay. So
we plan to do Azure DevOps, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it'll be Azure DevOps. So you'll get to actually see how to create build pipelines and things like that, which is really exciting. I actually love doing pipelines and things like that in DevOps. So you can see how to actually do all these kinds of things and pushing into from Git to yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for sticking around.
Thanks, Wayne. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.